Hi, information security and privacy is a large field of study. What we'll be focusing on today is web scraping. This is intended for beginners to gain some knowledge about what web scraping is, how to use it, and how to protect themselves. So hang on tight and gain some good knowledge.
Web scraping is the extraction and collection of data from web pages. Examples of packages and libraries that provide scraping functionalities include but are not limited to Selenium and Scraping in Python and the utils package in R. Scraping allows for the automation of menial tasks and the collection of data that would otherwise be near impossible to collect in full. This is due to the amount of human resources that would be required to do so. Examples of scraping include but are not limited to Google search results, citation machines and programs, and product information and pricing comparison. In the context of web scraping, queries are the requests that the robot is to ask of the website and are written in what is known as a query language. These requests are formulated in such a way that they return the items of interest on the web page. Also known as A tags, anchors are a type of element found on a web page that lead to documents and other web pages. This is very important as it allows for the use of one starting destination to account for the entire website domain. After fetching a particular web page, the robot downloads a copy of the page and applies the associated query. The results of the request made in the query are then returned. After retrieving the items and placing their contents into an intermediate medium, the content is cleaned and sorted before being uploaded to their final destination. The implementation of cleaning and sorting includes file renaming, the removal of unwanted extension types, indentation characters and duplicates, and the categorization of the file based on its content. If implemented correctly, scraping a particular source or domain will update pre-existing documents that have undergone changes on the source website and retrieve new documents that have been added since the last scrape.
Now, let's talk about the ethics and legality regarding scraping. Good scraping intends to respect the rules set by websites and use the scraped data ethically. Web scraping in itself is not illegal. Think of web scraping as a tool. The tool itself is not illegal unless the individual scraping has unethical intentions. There is a lot of uncertainty surrounding the legalities of web scraping in Canada, since currently there are no laws that directly prohibit it. Nevertheless, it is still possible to web scrape illegally. In the US, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, also known as the CFAA, considers web scraping to fall under the same category as hacking. However, the CFAA is considered to be outdated, as it was created during a time where web scraping was not a well-known practice. The Act has received a great deal of criticism due to its vague regulations. In general, an individual can be held liable for scraping illegally in the following numerous ways. Breach of contract. If a website explicitly prohibits web scraping, they may include it in their terms of service. This way, anyone scraping would violate the website's terms of use and service. Again, this is a gray area because the user is held liable only if they explicitly agree with the terms of services. They would do so by checking a box. Using copyrighted material. Another feature of illegal scraping includes extracting and sharing copyrighted data. The copyright law only applies when the individual actually republishes the scraped data. So, an individual is able to scrape the data and use it under the fair use principle, meaning they won't republish the data. Web crawling restrictions. Sometimes, a website will implement a robots.txt file in the directory of their website. This file will provide instructions for scraping bots. For example, the text files will provide instructions to the user which pages are available to scrape. The user technically doesn't need to follow the instructions as there are no legal or technical restrictions. The website trusts that the scraper will follow the instructions. Individual privacy and rights of research subjects. At times, researchers will require data collected from websites in which the data compromises the privacy of individuals who contributed to the site. For example, America Online released 500,000 search queries that were meant to be anonymous. However, the internet was able to deduce users' internet searches based on searches involving their own name and geographical locations. Although the circumstance violates users' privacy, there was no legal or technical protection against this. Discrimination and bias. There are various ways that scraped data can contribute to discrimination and bias. Inferences can be drawn on a pre-existing bias. Decisions based on scraped data lead to financial and social discrimination. Businesses may limit their consumer choice to a certain group based on past behavior. Companies can adjust their prices based on gender, age, race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status. Diminishing value for the organization. This occurs when a web scraping project makes it less likely for a customer to visit the website. Doing so results in a decrease in the website's monetization. The product that is created from the scraped data can possibly compete with the site owner's business, regardless of the intention of the web scraper. Data quality and impact on decision making. Using scraped data to make any decisions is not a good idea. Data on the web will often lack accuracy due to internet users purposely posting false information. So, when scraping, it is crucial to be cautious of the quality of data you are obtaining. All internet content scraping activities should be conducted responsibly such that personal data is not compromised. To fulfill this, web scrapers should ask themselves the following: can I take this data? Can I republish this data? Am I overloading the website's servers? What can I use this data for? Can the project that requires the scraped data potentially diminish the value of the service that the website provides? Does the quality of the data obtained from the web have the potential to lead to faulty decision making? And lastly, abide by the rules of the robots.txt.
We've discussed what web scraping is and what the ethical implications of web scraping are. So now, let's discuss why knowing this should be important to you. As a user of the internet or services hosted on the internet, some of your data and information may be available to be accessed by web scrapers if it is public. This may be a privacy concern for some people. For example, if you have a public social media account and you post pictures with hashtags, all posts to that hashtag can easily be scraped by a bot and collected by an individual. If this is something that you wouldn't be comfortable with, you should be aware it is possible. You can prevent your data from being scraped and collected by having private social media accounts, not posting with hashtags, and not posting on public forums or pages. Some social media platforms discourage external scrapers from collecting and analyzing their users' data, but it is often done selectively and for the benefit of the company rather than the users. Often, both ethical and unethical scraping might be discouraged if scrapers are likely to expose parts of how a platform functions that would give a negative view of that platform. This stance could prevent researchers from using scraping to help users get a better understanding of what happens on the sites they use. An example of important research was how data analyst Jonathan Albright found that the extent of the Russian misinformation spread on Facebook had a much greater reach than Facebook had previously let on. This is a way that web scraping was used ethically to support users' security and privacy. But after Albright contacted Facebook about this, they privatized that data that he had used. Other social media platforms, such as Twitter, sell access to their users' data to people who won't use it in a way that would be detrimental to their platform. This may not be illegal, but it might be unethical because it risks the sense of privacy and security that their users might expect. And when social media platforms get to choose who can access their data, it limits who can use that data to people who are non-threatening to that platform. This allows platforms to have less external regulation and more privacy at the cost of their users' privacy. Overall, you can only rely on yourself to keep your information private and secure. So it is important to understand what web scraping is and how people might use it without considering your interests.
Thank you so much for watching and learning with us.